Thank you. Thank you for engaging in that exercise. If you have a moment, just write down on this piece of paper one thing you learned from that exercise. What did you learn from this exercise? And you can return to your seats, please. What is one thing you learned from this exercise? Okay. Testing. Thank you so much for participating in that exercise. I'm going to ask to have the room back. All right. One thing that you learned from that exercise. And the Zoom participants, I'm asking you the same question. What did you learn from that exercise? They're typing in their responses in the chat box right now. And so I'm going to ask Leah, who is our Zoom champion here, to share one or two things that that she sees in the chat box. What did you share? What did you see, Leah? Turn up the volume. There you go. Can we hear you, Leah? Can you say something? Yeah, Leah, you're muted. Okay. Just hold on a sec. So this is our first ever hybrid assembly. Have I mentioned that yet? And I do appreciate your patience as we work out just some tiny little glitches here. So from the groups on the floor, what did you learn from this exercise? Is just one or two people want to just come forward and share? Maybe at the mic here. Or loudly, what did you learn from that exercise? That we don't know our neighbors. What else did you learn, David?
We don't know nearly enough of our community leaders.
Community leaders, okay. What else did you learn? Victor? There you go.
Just leave it right there. Okay.
Too many short people set these up. That our neighbors are really the people that we have associations with rather than the people we live near.
It's not, neighbor is not a geographic thing. What'd you learn, Margaret?
That even though some of us don't like Rufus, and some did, we could still have conversation.
We could have conversation. Okay, great. Leah, what about the Zoom participants?
There was lots of comments. It was clear that we move in and out of communities, and the communities we live in are ever changing. And people are people no matter where you live. And that we need to be more diligent in getting to know our neighbors.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for participating in that that exercise. And it's really a really important part of our theme for today. Who's my neighbor? What street do I live on? Do I know the people in my neighborhood? And what about the relationships I have with my community and my community leaders? Okay, so We're going to move on to our theme verse for today. It's from Proverbs 1, chapter 20, or it's from Proverbs chapter 1, verse 20. And we're going to use it as our refrain for the gathering today. So I'm going to say wisdom, and you're going to say, in the public places, wisdom raises her voice. Just a little bit of background about the book of Proverbs and that theme verse. Proverbs is part of the Bible called wisdom literature. Proverbs, along with the book of Job and Ecclesiastes. Can you fix that? You guys are so gracious. So gracious. Thank you. I know how to fix this. So, Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, is part of the Bible called wisdom literature. Proverbs, along with the book of Job and Ecclesiastes, are included in the biblical wisdom portion of our scriptures. Now, wisdom literature is distinct from the law and the prophets and the historical books of the Hebrew Bible. In the first 9 chapters of the book of Proverbs, wisdom is poetically described and personified as a woman. Wisdom is an attribute of God. Wisdom is a feminine noun in both Hebrew and Greek. In Hebrew, it's chokhmah, and in Greek, it's sophia. So woman wisdom is an agent through which God works, especially in creation. Woman wisdom is a street preacher, a wisdom teacher. That's the first 9 chapters of the book of Proverbs. The rest of the book of Proverbs is a collection of wise sayings that forms an invitation from God to learn about the accumulated wisdom of previous generations. It's an invitation to learn to live well in this world and to thus honor God. It is my hope and prayer that God's wisdom will guide us and the work that we do here today, and that it will all honor God. It's my hope and prayer that, guided by God's wisdom, we'll take the good news of Jesus out to the streets, into the public arena. So just join me once again in our theme verse. Wisdom. In the public places, wisdom raises her voice. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Synod Officers. Some of them are seated here at the table. First of all, Vice President, our Synod Vice President is Al Arndt. Al? I didn't know you brought your own fan club. That's great. Al is a member of Joy Lutheran in Centuria. And our Synod Secretary is Julie Brendan. And Julie is a pastor at St. John's in Eau Claire. And our treasurer is Peter Mashinsky. Where's Peter? Is he here? Well, Peter's a Navy chaplain and an interim pastor and lives in Rice Lake and is apparently tardy. Our parliamentarian today is Leslie Frost. She is an attorney who lives in Trago. So I am so grateful for all of those folks here today, all of you folks being here today, and for your work on behalf of the Synod. So what we're going to do now is we're going to practice voting. Okay, so those on Zoom will be using the Zoom polling features. And those of us here at Trinity we're going high-tech, folks, red and green cards, huh? So we're going to do some practice polling. And so I'm going to ask that Leah, that you launch the Zoom poll for our Zoom participants at this time. And then I ask that you all have your green and red cards ready. Once that I see the Zoom poll is up and running, I'm going to ask you to vote as well on these very important questions that we have before us. All right, so this is just practice. So, are the Zoom folks good? All right, 1 minute, we're waiting, we're just going to wait for a minute. Just breathe. Wisdom. Cries out in the streets. Okay, I'm waiting for Laura to give me a thumbs up. Okay. So that's why we're going to wait for just a moment for the Zoom. We're always going to do so voting protocol today, we're going to always do the Zoom vote first. So they're going to get a Zoom poll first, and then I'm going to call on a vote in the House. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just going to fill up time until I get a thumbs up. So you'll notice there's a red and there's a green card. You'll notice there's no white card. There's no abstentions. We're not having any abstentions today, okay? If you don't want to vote, you can just not vote. Okay. Okay, so the Zoom poll has been launched. So now what we're going to do, oh my gosh, it's on the screen. All right. If you still have Easter candy in your house, raise your green card. If you have eaten all of your Easter candy and there's no Easter candy in your house, raise your red card. All right? And now we're just going to, and then we're going to pause until we see the results of the Zoom poll. This is a really important vote because if we can do this, we can do anything for the rest of the day, right? So Laura, give me a thumbs up when we get the Zoom poll vote. She should be texting it to Al. Well, I think we had a division of the House here, don't you? Okay. And so the way that's going to work is Leah's texting Al the results of the Zoom poll.
35 yes, 53 no.
35 yes, 53 no. That's pretty much what we had here too, right? I could call a division of the House and make us count, but I'm not going to. All right. So we're going to launch the second Zoom poll, please. Launch the second Zoom poll. We're going to practice voting one more time. Okay? And the question is, how far do you live from your nearest neighbor? Okay, if you live less than a quarter of a mile, you should raise your green card, and if you're, we're just talking right now. And then if you live more than a quarter of a mile, raise your red card. And we're waiting for the Zoom poll to get launched. This is important so we know we have, I think, probably 5 or 6 major voting pieces today, so this is just a test to see how long it takes and what we need to do to make it happen. And this reminds me, I forgot to prepare jokes for the time. All right. Okay, the Zoom poll has been launched. Okay. All those who live less than a quarter mile from their nearest neighbor, please raise your green cards. Woohoo! All of those who live more than a quarter of a mile from your neighbors, raise your red cards. Ah, okay. Very good. That was interesting. Now we're going to wait until we hear the ding on Al's phone, and then we know we've got the results from the Zoom. So clearly the Greens, clearly less than a quarter mile in this room.
Who is my neighbor?
What kind of pizza does Jesus buy? What?
Supreme self-rising.
Note to self, don't call on people in the audience. Okay, how are we doing on the Zoom poll, Laura?
It's done.
We're waiting for the ding.
25.
60, like less than a quarter mile, right?
Is their question the same as ours?
Yep.
Okay.
60, so clearly,
Well, this says poll number 2, 10 plus equals 60, less than 10, 25. So that's why I'm wondering, because in our script, you had a different question for number 2.
okay, we proved, okay, first of all, we proved we can vote with this hybrid method. The results are less, I mean, in this test poll, the results are not important. It's just we're testing the process. All right, great voting. All right, now we're going to have a credentials report. So do you have the credentials report, Al?
The credentials report for the 2022 Synod Assembly. Rostered leader voting members 117, retired clergy voting 6, on leave of call voting 1, total rostered leaders voting 124. Lay voting members 240, person of color or language 3, youth voting members 3, for total lay voting of 246. The lay voting members are further divided between lay male of 109 and lay female 137. The total rostered and lay voting members are 370.
Thank you, Al. I therefore declare that we have a quorum and we can proceed with the business portion of our assembly. At this time, we are going to turn to our agenda and vote to approve the agenda. The agenda is on page 2 of your assembly. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as well as the second. Do I need to have names and, do I need names and, okay. So it's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved. Is there any speaking to the motion? All right, if there's no speaking to the motion, then I ask that we launch the Zoom poll to approve the agenda. Okay, and I'm just going to wait until I get a thumbs up from Laura that the Zoom poll has been launched. This is a good time to check your email. I think Al's just getting text messages from his nieces and nephews.
No, that's Leah saying less than a quarter mile, 72, more than a quarter mile.
That's good. We proved that we can vote. Okay, is she able to launch the vote to approve the agenda? Okay. All right. So then you can check your email, text somebody send pictures, post on Facebook how awesome the assembly is. No more jokes from Margaret. No. Get your voting card ready. Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your green card. All those opposed, raise your red card. Okay. The motion to approve the agenda has been approved. At this time, we're going to move on to the approval of the rules and procedures for a hybrid assembly. Oh, never mind. That was a mistake. We're going to wait until we hear from the Zoom people before we approve the agenda. Somebody, here, I'll tell you what, if I do that again, just poke me with this, okay? So in preparation for what we're going to do next, turn to page 20 in your assembly booklet for the rules and procedures.
74 to 0.
70, okay, so the vote from the Zoom participants was 74 to 0. The agenda has been approved. Thank you for that, for catching that. Now we're going to move on to rules and procedures. This isn't because this is a hybrid meeting and because we've never done a hybrid meeting before, some of the rules are slightly different, so I'm going to highlight some of them just in case you haven't read every word of this document. First of all, in a hybrid assembly, all participants who are entitled to voice and vote must be able to communicate with others in the meeting in accordance with the governing documents in the state of Wisconsin. Okay? So, under letter B, plenary meeting procedures, all voting members on Zoom will be muted until called upon to speak. Voting members in person will use designated microphones. There are 2 microphones in the front that the voting members can use to speak. Okay? When you come to a microphone to speak, please bring with you either your green card or your red card, indicating whether you're speaking for something on the floor or against it, okay? So, and that's how we'll know, and we'll be able to call on you alternating between for and against, okay? When you come to a microphone, please state your name and the congregation in which you're a member. And then, just so you know, number 5, speeches during debates will be limited to 2 minutes. And they will be in alternating orders. And we will have a timer, and Pastor Randy Olson here is the timer. And when you have 30 seconds left in your speech, he will raise a card that says, a white piece of paper that says 30 on it, which is your warning that your time is almost up. Number 8, debate and discussion will be limited to 20 minutes for each resolution. At the end of 20 minutes, the assembly will be asked to vote unless there is a motion to extend the discussion. So you may choose to extend the discussion, and we will extend it by 10-minute increments. All right, and then again, on number 1, under voting, again, just there is no white card, so you can cross out that says white card to abstain from a vote. Number 2, nominations. Nominations from the floor will not be accepted during our hybrid assembly this year due to the challenges that it would put before our technology team. I hope you understand that. Okay? And then finally, because these are the rules and procedures, we need to have at least a 75% majority vote in order to proceed with these rules and procedures for our assembly. Are there any questions about the rules and procedures? Any questions? All right, so these rules and procedures have been approved by the Synod Council. And so I believe we can just vote. Okay, we can just vote now. So is the Zoom poll ready to vote on the rules and procedures? We'll just wait until they are ready to vote.
I think they've already voted.
On the rules and procedures?
At least I got a text with the results.
You know, do you ever get a feeling that they might be having their own little assembly? That 30-second delay is a doozy there. All right, all those in favor of this, the rules and procedures, raise your green cards. Okay, those opposed, raise your red. Okay.
And the online Zoom was 83 yes, 0 no.
Okay, excellent. So these rules and procedures then have been approved. At this time now, we are going to go into our first resolution, which is on page 25 in your assembly booklet. It will also be up on the screen for you. I'm going to, it is the Care of Creation Green Teams resolution, and I'm going to invite the chair of our resolutions committee, Pastor David Whalen, to come forward and read the resolution, the resolve portion of the resolutions for us.
Resolved that the congregations in the Northwest Synod of Wisconsin commit to taking the faithful step of caring for God's creation by forming congregational green teams whose ongoing purpose is to promote awareness while challenging the congregation to implement effective practices that protect and promote the health of creation. And be it further resolved that the Northwest Synod of Wisconsin will provide training to equip members of these green teams as well as video materials appropriate for worship and/or educational events.
Thank you, David. At this time, then, just a note that this resolution has been written by the members of our justice team, has been reviewed by the Resolutions Committee, and recommended to the Assembly by the Synod Council. For it doesn't need a second. So it's been moved and seconded, and so is there any discussion about this resolution? Pastor Karen Bailing.
Good morning. I'm Karen Bailing, pastor at Our Savior's Lutheran Church in Chippewa Falls, a member of the Justice Team and one of the folks involved in writing this resolution, which I, of course, urge you to support. The good news is that within our synod, we already have at least 13 congregations who have formed a green team and are already doing this important, intentional work. And based on information that our bishop has gathered, we know that at least 58 of our synod's rostered leaders have indicated that they have leaders within their congregation who may be interested in supporting these efforts. And so that's encouraging. My hope is that working together, we can learn a lot from one another. We can inspire one another. We can challenge one another. And please note that an important part of this resolution is the commitment from our synod leadership to equip and train us for this work. We're in this together. And together, we will discover many new and faithful practices. I recently asked my confirmation students for their ideas about what steps our congregation could take. I invited them to consider what practices they have at home or at school to reduce, reuse, or recycle. And guess what? When I asked what they thought we might be able to implement at our church, they had a whole host of ideas. Some of them as simple as placing a recycling container next to every garbage can, or eliminating the use of styrofoam, to something a little more challenging like composting or putting in solar panels. For any of us yearning to connect more deeply with our youth and young adults, issues focused on care for creation is a great way to connect, to listen, to learn, as we invite those with passion and energy to lead us in taking the next faithful step. Thank you.
How close to 2 minutes was she?
Exactly 2 minutes.
I thought so. That's great. All right. Would anyone else like to speak to the resolution? We're going to see if there's anyone that wants to speak against the resolution before you go, Lucas. Anyone speaking in opposition to the resolution? Okay. Lucas?
Good morning. I'm
Luke.
Luke Peterson. I am the synodically authorized minister for the parish of Trinity and Good Shepherd in Buffalo County. And the Green Team resolution, I believe this is a great opportunity to plant the seed, so to speak. Like for one tiny seed can become something great. For example, a couple weeks ago, I did a blessing a seed in soil. As part of the service, I said, well, from these tiny seeds on the table can become a bountiful, beautiful garden. And some of these tiny seeds can start with recycling or getting rid of the styrofoam, or they can progress to picking up the road ditch, or grow to more and more to maybe planting a pollinator garden or planting trees and so on. And I think it's also a great cross-generational activity where the youth and adults can all work together. And I think as this begins, I think they begin to see how many people within a congregation may have a passion and a passion for care of creation. And I think it really goes back to the beginning in Genesis, where God had commanded Adam and the first human beings to tend to God's garden. And I think that as in care of creation, we are upholding that first command to care for God's good garden and good creation. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. I'm sorry I got your
Guess
name
what?
wrong.
When I asked what they thought we might be able to implement at our church, they had a whole host of ideas. Some of them as simple as placing a recycling container.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to wait for just a second until our Zoom audience catches up, because we have a Zoom participant who would like to speak for the resolution. And I really want this person to be able to do that so that we can so we can practice this back and forth communication with our Zoom participants, okay? So we're just going to have to wait for a minute. So now we're going to listen to Luke now we have to listen to Luke's speech, because it's more than 2 minutes delay, apparently. So,
Okay.
should I tell the speaker person to go?
Sanctuary?
Okay, so I believe her name is Gloria Rested, or, we have someone on Zoom who'd like to speak now. So that I call on Gloria Rolstead to speak for the resolution.
Can you hear us in the sanctuary?
Yes. Okay, I call on Gloria to speak on behalf of the resolution.
So Gloria Rolstead, go ahead and unmute and speak, please.
And you're going to put her on speaker view, I think, right? For by grace we have been saved through faith. It's not any good works.
That's not me, Al.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Gloria, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Or, I'm sorry, I had gotten up to go to the restroom.
What did she say? Going to the restroom?
Are you ready to speak
I
for
see
the
that.
resolution, Gloria? No.
Yes, I say we should go ahead and do this, and especially if the Synod is going to teach us, it'll make it much better.
Okay, thanks, Gloria. Anyone, and I know I'm going to call on Maggie Erickson to speak now in the room, and then I'm going to call on Bruce and Laurel after that. Okay? So just hold on. Go ahead, Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie Erickson. I'm a member of Saron Lutheran. I am in favor of this Caring for Creation resolution. It is an opportunity for us to look at where we are going. As Luke said, go back to Genesis, and God said, let us be stewards. Let us all be stewards. It can be in small ways. Here at Saron, we have changed out our sanctuary light bulbs to LEDs. We are now a compostable church. No styrofoam is allowed in the doors. And it can be a small thing, just as planting native plants in a garden with grandma and grandpas and aunts and uncles. So please, yes, these are small steps, and the Synod and Caring for Creation Justice team will support you, will be your cheerleaders. So thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. In here. So let's see.
We're good now, Bishop Lori, thank you.
All right, I don't know what happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened. But... Thank you, Maggie. Speaking to the resolution, I have Bruce and Laurel from on Zoom who would like to speak on behalf of the resolution. Bruce, you may speak now. Bruce Pepper.
I am for the resolution.
Thank you. And Laurel, would you like to speak on behalf of the resolution? Laurel Boyer. So Leah, is Laurel on screen?
I have.
Sorry, I must have hit that by mistake. I didn't need to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't need to speak. I must have hit something by mistake.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, Jeff Pratt.
I voted for. I mean, it sounds great, and I actually thought we were making the bill right now, so I really had nothing else to say.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else in the room today that would like to speak for or against the resolution? We have one more speaker coming to the microphone.
I don't want it to be just where we talk about our churches. How do we get educated about how we take care of our lakes, our farms, the land, and all that? We've got to go further than talking about styrofoam and stuff. So I hope this resolution encourages that.
And could you just say your name again? Did you say your name?
I was afraid to.
Okay.
Lauren Tate.
Thank you, Lauren. Any more speaking to the resolutions for or against? We have about 8 minutes left of our 20-minute allotted time.
Can we call the question?
No. Oh, wait. Let me say that differently. I'd rather if you didn't. Okay? Let's just say it that way. Because then we can end quicker. Is there any more speaking to the resolution? Seeing that the conversation appears to be done, I'm just going to ask the Zoom participants, is there any speaking to the resolution?
We have one more for.
Okay. And who is that?
This is LeMay Rowland.
Okay. LeMay, you may speak now. LeMay?
I've lost her on my screen.
Okay.
Oh, there she is. LeMay, can you unmute yourself, please? There we go.
LeMay, you may speak.
Go ahead and state your comments, LeMay.
And I what?
Just say you're in favor of the resolution.
I am in favor of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. My sense is that the conversation around this resolution is done for the moment. And I'm just going to say that this is what I call an educational resolution. And the point of this resolution is really for us to have conversation as a synod around